Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rahmawati, Class A English Education 5th semester. I'm going to explain about the theoretical model 5 hypotheses. Number 1, the acquisition learning hypothesis. Number 2, the natural order hypothesis. Number 3, the monitor hypothesis. Number 4, the input hypothesis. Number 5, the hypothesis of the effective filter hypothesis. In the first, I will explain about the acquisition learning hypothesis. This hypothesis states that adults who have two different ways of developing competence in language, where the first way is through language acquisition, namely using language for real communication, where language acquisition is a natural way of developing linguistic abilities and is a subconscious process, while the second way is normally to develop second language competence with language learning, namely knowing what language acquisition learning hypothesis explain that adults can still master a second language, that the more mature of puberty, the language skill will not disappear. Number 2, the natural order hypothesis. The natural order hypothesis is that grammatical structure are acquired or not necessarily learned. In other words, acquired language by natural order, some language rules are derived earlier than other language rules. The natural order hypothesis does not imply that each side will acquire that grammatical structure in the exact same order. One part of grammar that is well studied in mastery is the morphology of the English language. This finding is a natural order to obtain the morphology of English for children learning English as a first language. Okay, number 3, the monitor hypothesis. The monitor hypothesis states that conscious learning has a learning function to control or improve language, while acquiring language function as a speech enhancer which affect the fluency of learning communication. It has 3 conditions to fulfill if controlling. In the first, time there is sufficient time to exercise control. The second, focus on the form. A learning must focus on the form and rules of correct language. And the last, knowing the rules of learning, must know the correct rules in controlling the language so as to produce the correct form of language. Number 4, the input hypothesis. The input hypothesis is to simply state that we acquire, not learn. In other words, we obtain language by understanding the input, which contains a structure that is more than a person's ability. We do not acquire the structure of language in the first time learning, but understand the meaning of a speech so that the structure can be obtained by self. And the last, number 5, the hypothesis of the effective filter hypothesis is a variable related to success in acquiring language, where this variable has 3 categories in the second language, namely number 1, motivation. With high motivation will show better performance than those with weak motivation. Number two, self-confidence. Having high self-confidence then to be better at acquiring a second language. And the last, number three, anxiety. If having high anxiety will inhibit the process of obtaining input. On the other hand, learners who have low anxiety or even do not have anxiety will easily get input. I think that's all for me. Thank you very much.